Their last game, a loss against Phoenix, these were the back-to-back plays she was involved in on the offensive end. Created a lot of conversation over the past week. Clark would continue playing the rest of the second quarter and then would leave the middle of the third quarter with a back injury.
You're seeing the WNBA's biggest star go from dropping dimes and draining logo threes to limping. Off the court, clutching her side, face contorted in anguish, this season alone, not once, not twice, but 4 times. The Indiana Fever dismissed it as a minor adjustment each time. They claim it's day-to-day, just some discomfort. They claim, however, her own physician is now taking over, and what he's saying might change everything. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second. But it means the world to us.so. Did you subscribe already? Great, thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video, because the actual narrative of Caitlin Clark's injuries isn't just about one superstar's anguish. It's about what's being hidden, who's being suppressed, and why the WNBA might be on the risk of losing the largest thing it is going. So, let's break it down. A risky pattern. Fans were already familiar with the routine by the time Clark limped off the court during the vicious Fever Sun game. A tough screen, a hard fall, and then the limp again. However, nobody was aware of the extent of this injury rabbit hole at the time. It was more than a groin strain. It was the 4th injury to the lower body in 2 months. Left quad, left groin, right groin, same story, different side. Experts now refer to it as a textbook compensating injury pattern, in which a single damage causes the body to subtly overcompensate, which in turn causes a strain in another area. It's like whack-a-mole with agony, and the more you ignore it the worse it gets. And still the Fever insisted she was alright, just a little stiffness, the daily lie. In fact, because teams want to keep things in-house, here's where the red flags start to pile up. According to several orthopedic specialists who are not on the record, the severity of Caitlin's injuries is far from daily. At the very least, we are discussing week to week, and only if she receives complete rest, care, and rehabilitation. Instead, she's flying cross-country, playing for more than 30 minutes, and making promotional appearances for a league that is obviously profiting from her celebrity, without safeguarding the body behind it. Some fans have begun referring to it as exploitation, how the body disintegrated. This is what's literally happening behind the scenes. Coming into the season, Clark allegedly added significant muscular mass, likely an attempt to prepare for the more physical pro game. However, if bulking up is not properly integrated, it also changes biomechanics. Even though it increases strength and durability, she used slightly different shooting mechanics. Her normal gait was disrupted by a slight change in her movement habits. The WNBA schedule is tough, with back-to-back games, intense defensive pressure, and little time for relaxation. The outcome? A body pushed over its limit, compelled to make up for every wound until it eventually fails. The Breaking Point, Connecticut game, and that's precisely what took place during the Fever's matchup with the Connecticut Sun. It wasn't only that she got up slowly, it was the way she reacted. She winced, she attempted to run it off, she bent over, hands on her knees. The tears, however, are the most revealing aspect. Clark, who's usually stoic on the court, cried on the bench. It was more than just bodily discomfort. That was frustration, fear, and full emotional burnout. Even so, the league described it as slight discomfort. Just picture LeBron doing it during his rookie campaign. Would the NBA minimize it, in your opinion? Just that, losing trust in the team, what many fans had suspected, has now been confirmed by people close to Clark's team. She is no longer dependent just on the medical personnel of the Indiana Fever. She is bringing in outside professionals, biomechanical evaluators, regenerative treatment consultants, and NBA-level specialists, because the confidence has been betrayed at this stage. And can you blame her? Your team's focus shifts from basketball to self-preservation when they handle a series of cascading injuries like they're just a bruise. This isn't about missing games. It's about protecting careers. Enter sophisticated therapeutics. So, what's next? According to reports, Clark's medical professionals are thinking of using a variety of cutting-edge regeneration treatments to stabilize her recuperation. We're talking about biomechanical retraining to prevent brain injury by correcting imbalances that cause this in the first place, stem cell therapy to speed up tissue healing in damaged muscle fibers, and hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatments to lower inflammation and increase circulation. Healing is not the only goal here. Her body has to be reset before things get out of control. However, the Indiana Fever Group has made no reference to these methods. They're still feeding fans day to day. People are awakening. Fans are not foolish. They observe what is going on. Every time Clark limps down the court, every time she holds her hip, every time she disappears from the bench during timeouts, people notice. More significantly, they are enraged. Already, the hashtags are popular. Hashtag feverfail, hashtag not day to day. Her own family has quietly voiced concerns, and other players have begun to express frustration about how the league protects or fails to protect its stars. The question at hand is not whether something needs to change, but rather when it comes to athlete empowerment. Let's zoom out again, and what we're witnessing with Caitlin Clark is part of a larger shift in professional sports where elite athletes are no longer just listening to team doctors. They are taking charge of their bodies, hiring their own, and speaking up when something doesn't seem right, because at the end of the day, this isn't about allegiance to a jersey. It's about surviving in the workplace. Clark didn't struggle her way to the top just to watch it disintegrate because someone else didn't take her injury seriously. She's taking back control, which could be the best move she's made in her career thus far. The implications for the WNBA of this is a crossroads point for the league. If they want Caitlin Clark to be the face of the WNBA, if they want the TV deals, the filled arenas, the sold-out apparel, they have to do the one thing they've failed at so far: to keep her safe. This entails more stringent enforcement of risky plays. Conditions result from it. It means public transparency on medical evaluations, and sure, that can require stepping in when teams mishandle injuries, because if the league can't establish they care for their stars, those stars won't stick around. A comeback is coming, but on her terms. Here's the hopeful part: Clark is not finished, not at all, since she now understands exactly who is on her side and what she needs to protect herself. This injury story might be the best thing to her in a long run. She'll take a nap. She'll get well, she will return with more strength. However, it won't be because she was told she was day to day. It will be as a result of her decision to heal properly. This is what we have discovered. Caitlin Clark isn't just battling defenders on the court. She's fighting a whole system off of it. One that is quick to profit, slow to adjust, and all too ready to ignore injury indicators until it's too late. However, she is no longer cooperating. Clark is taking a different route in the absence of side physicians, cutting-edge treatments, and a fresh perspective on her health. One that doesn't require consent. One that refuses to accept day-to-day living when the reality is weak, and one that just might establish the new standard for athlete empowerment in women's sports. You don't wager against Caitlin Clark if that's one thing we already know. There's a saying in athletics: pain is momentary, pride is forever. However, Caitlin Clark's groin isn't being healed by pride. The structural flaws in her environment aren't being fixed by ice baths. Furthermore, from the beginning of her rookie season, the cycle of rain jury has been spinning like a rigged carousel. And no inspirational quotation will stop it. What's happening here isn't just a physical breakdown. It's a cultural one. Because Caitlin Clark has become a lightning rod, not just the defenders try and wear her down, but for every failure, every outmoded system, and every shortcut the WNBA and the Indiana Fever have tried to take in handling the face of their league. And now she's done waiting. Appearance of healing. Here's the section they don't want you to see. Clark has been limping during workouts, wincing during lateral drills, and missing entire scrimmages behind the pre-game warm-ups and mysterious game-time decision labels. Although she has been going through the motions, anyone who is paying attention can see that she isn't fully committed, not even close. When the Fever say she's improving, they mean she can jog up the court without collapsing. That is not advancement, desperation is what that is. Additionally, jogging is a death sentence for her style of play because she depends on speed, angles, and quick decisions. The true cost of playing was pain. To be clear, the majority of athletes endure discomfort when competing. That's the work. Knowing when to say no is what sets the wise ones apart from the cautionary tales. Too many times, Clark said yes after the initial groin pull. The answer is yes to continuing the game, yes to ramping up for back-to-backs with 0 rest days, yes the painful joints and sore muscles from leading promotional events and media appearances. She gave the WNBA all it asked for and more. However, she required time, attention, and a sensible medical strategy. Quiet. Now she's paying for it. Insufficient support for veterans. One of the most startling aspects of Clark's injury tale is how few veterans have stepped forward publicly to defend her. Where are the older state women's voices in the league? There is a collective protest among gamers who have spent years experiencing this reality. There is a subtle gap in the league between the new stars, like Clark, who came with immediate popularity and significant endorsements, and the old guard, who had a grind without national attention. That strain is real, and it's one of the reasons Clark's circumstances have grown so lonely. Yes, there are occasional encouraging tweets and whispers, but no coordinated athlete should be recognized like the generational star she is, and perhaps it is part of the issue of being Caitlin Clark is a business. The Fever aren't simply managing a player, they're managing a brand. Caitlin Clark jerseys fly off Shelves, her highlight footage dominates SportsCenter. She moves tickets, fills arenas, and anchors broadcast deals. Therefore, when your franchise's face indicates, "I'm not feeling right," you don't consider it a medical problem, you consider it an emergency in marketing. If your star isn't on the court, how can you promote a product? Trainers, public relations personnel, and coaches who are suddenly required to spin injury reports. Like press releases are all affected by this strain. So, instead of a definite injury timetable, supporters receive slight pain. Instead of a break, Clark gets managed minutes. Instead of rest, she gets reassurances. Everyone is inhaling the fumes. From the smoke and mirrors, fans are beginning to change their minds. This is the difficult part. Clark had more goodwill going into the league than most athletes have in 10 years, but the injury issue coupled with on-court tension and cryptic updates has produced impatience. Some admirers are beginning to wonder if she is being spoiled. Why doesn't she persevere? Why does everything seem to be a